All righty. Welcome back to the Red Corner, everybody. We got the whole gang here. We got Slim, Bones. Uh, I am Devo. Don't call me Devo. A lot of controversy on that last week. Boys, we had a beautiful weekend in Philadelphia. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, doing good. How's everyone out there tonight? Glad to be back for our second episode. Excited to break down. We were anticipating what was going to happen, and we got some answers that I'm ready to dive into. Eagerly waiting.
Yes,
Pretty good.
sir.
Pretty good. Nice weekend. Weather's still doing good as of now, and then it's going to drop off a little bit. So suck it up while you can and dive into this hot stove season with the Phils.
Absolutely. And speaking of hot stove, the Phillies just had the end of season press conference, and there was a lot to that. They were very generous with their time. I feel like they felt like they owed the fan base a little bit more time given the disappointing premature ending to the year. So I wanted to do something a little bit different this week, boys. So do me a favor. I know each of you has watched the end of season press conference for both Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson. So do me a favor. On a piece of paper, we're going to all blindly write down the three biggest takeaways that you had, and then we're just going to go around and talk about those. So I'm going to start off here. Yeah, just dive in.
From both Topper and
Yeah,
okay,
from both.
cool.
Give you like 5 seconds, then we'll just dive in here. All right, perfect. We'll talk as we go along here, but Bones, let's start with you. What was your? We'll each start with our first one. What was your first takeaway?
First takeaway was the swing rate that Dombrowski talked
Right.
about how they weren't the worst, but they weren't the best. They were right in the middle, smack dab number 6.
Yep.
And then he throws out that they're just ahead of the Mets, or
Right.
they were worse than the Mets, or better than the Mets. I'm sorry.
They were middle of the pack, is what he was saying on that.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's I don't know. I think he was throwing around full of stats, and there was more stats that he was that he threw around. And he kind of got caught in the middle of something with Tim Kelly from on Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
talking about Trey Turner. So I think they're trying to they were trying to figure out ways to not sound like last year where talked about improving different things and we're back at the same thing this year where it's the same problems. So he was trying to like bounce around where it wasn't looking that way. Kind of help them out with the whole thing going in towards the season with the different approach.
No, I completely know exactly where you're coming from on that. And by the way, if you guys need more time to add your takeaway, just raise your hand anytime. But Slim, what was your number one takeaway?
So I'm going to go straight to my number 2 takeaway because it goes with
Yeah.
Bones. I have written down as the sub point, but I felt like that he even says it that the chase rate is the theme. And in my opinion, I feel like this is the opinion of a lot of people I heard since last week, is that he downplayed that theme. One way is he comes out, he makes sure he gives a little bit of kudos to the chatter because we know our eyes aren't lying to us. So he gives us we're 6 out of 12 playoff teams. And if you listen, he even had to clarify that. We're like, what? What do you talk? Oh, okay. Because if you remember in the press conference, people didn't know if he was trying to say that as a positive or a negative. He's like, no, that's not a good thing. But he was still using. It was weird to even say that, I thought, and not really get in too much into it because when you compare us to the Mets, you got to compare home runs, right? If you're gonna have the chase rates, what comes with the chase rates is the home runs,
Right.
and they were ahead of us in home runs, and they were ahead of us, I believe, in walks. And obviously, this is a separate part of the game, but their pitching staff is less in walks. So I just thought he downplayed the whole chase rate, especially when we had boom hitters that aren't booming. We're going to get into some of those hitters a little bit later. That was my number 2 point from the Dombrowski press conference. Well, do you have one, or are we just going? Want me to
Yeah.
give you my top?
No, I figure we just first go one by one, so we're all kind of getting involved here. But
Cool.
the first one that I had was Trey Turner will be the shortstop this year. Dombrowski was pretty adamant about that. He didn't shut it down. And look, you could say a lot of things about Dombrowski. Now he's been getting questioned more this year about trade mid-year acquisitions and what have you. He's on the hot seat more with those decisions that he's made. But one thing that he is he's honest and he's straightforward and he gives you a lot. So I feel like him just coming out and saying that Trey Turner is going to be the shortstop this year. That was a question we all had, during last episode. So that was my first one.
He's absolutely a Turner guy.
Yeah.
So off of that, I also think that he didn't maybe for this year, like he said he was shortstop, but future down the line, I don't think it's out of the question that he moves somewhere else because he talked about how he's athletic and he's got speed. So I wouldn't be surprised if that spot in the outfield is in play at some point. Probably not this year next year coming up, but future down the line.
For sure.
The one point he made with the speed though was, and I laughed. He said he thinks he's going to get better at shortstop. He thinks since he's athletic that he can actually get better at shortstop. And I was like, okay, maybe I do doubt it actually. Maybe he's talking about the savviness. I have no idea, but I thought that was pretty strange. Out of my top 3 reasons, the Turner thing was huge, but it didn't. It was right outside mine, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're stuck with Turner.
Absolutely. As far as your second one, let's start with you, Slim.
So right off the bat, the biggest and what he led off with, not to hide the headline at all, is there's no speculation all season Thompson's going to be the manager. Right. So he came out, he said, even with that press conference coming out and that being the first thing said and done, it was the first words out of his mouth. It nipped in the butt any questions that were coming later. And even in that press conference, it's going to really control the narrative with guys like us, so downplaying, destroying, keeping low that speculation that Thompson is our guy. And then Topper comes out, following Dombrowski or whatever, saying year by year is fine with him, yada, 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 yada. So, yeah, we're keeping Turner. We're keeping Thompson. We're getting the band back together. We shall see, because another aspect of that is if we bring everyone back, he talks about Nick Castellanos, how he played every day. The 2 higher payrolls than us in the NL were the 2 teams that are playing that played in the NLCS. The Dodgers had a bigger payroll, and the Mets had a bigger payroll. I'm getting worried now, probably for the first time, because he talked about the future. He talked about, of course, not everyone's going to be here years down the line, but for the first time in the last 3-4 years here, I'm hoping we don't start regressing because we're afraid to keep spending. Once you get in that mold, I think you got to keep at it.
For sure. And then to Slim's point, for those of you that missed it, since our last episode, the Phillies decided that Rod Thompson will be our manager and he will not be a lame duck manager, right? So he was extended for a year through the 2026 season. So Bones was all over that. Bones knows, as we all know, he was all over that because he said he doesn't see the lame duck thing happening. Speaking of you, what is your next takeaway?
So it was probably both of them brought it up. Running it back sounds like the lineup is going to be the same outside of the center fielder. Well, not the lineup, but the players in the mix of that lineup. Sounds like it's going to be the same. We talked about that last week. About who's going to be out. Boom was a choice, which I still think they were kind of playing him up a little bit, like talking about where his value is at in the team. He was just like had it down
100%,
second half.
100%.
I think they were just trying to build that up. I think he's trade bait, but right now, yeah, the
Who's
band is
that?
back together.
Boom.
He said we had 8 All-Stars at the break. He mentions Bone. At the top, I mentioned the home runs not being as high as I would like it to be, especially because I think we all believe that this team has that boomer bust approach. They start talking about swinging in the zone, all this kind of stuff, and I don't know. A lot of times they're talking past me. We talked about Turner, but the same thing with Stott. They brought up Stott. They brought about how he wasn't having good at bats. They bring up how he needs to start seeing pitches, how he has to be productive when there's 2 outs. And then again, like Topper, I think even says like he's a guy who can barely get 20 home runs. So I'm not sure if we're gonna have the same approach and not be producing as much power. I'm not sure what's this gonna look like. They talk about swinging in the zone, hitting those gaps. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting pretty nervous.
Yeah, no, Bones, I had the same takeaway. Dombrowski's a savvy GM. He knows what he's doing, right? Bohm, who had
And they
an
were
all
both doing that. It wasn't just Dombrowski. It was Thompson, too.
right. A guy who, as Slim mentioned last week, is probably our most attractive trade asset, right? As far as contract and production. A guy who, as far as stock goes, yeah, he's still a valuable asset, but he's on the down, right? As far as how he ended last year. So we're not going to shed light on that. We're going to say, oh, no, this is the all-star guy that we love. So I completely, I've read that the same way. All right. So for my second takeaway was that both Dave and Rob expressed that they are very, very willing to look at a reconstruction of the batting order. So I thought that the classic Phillies radio headline has been, why is Schwarber the leadoff hitter? Why is Schwarber the leadoff hitter? My read was I would be almost surprised if he is the leadoff hitter on opening day. That was my takeaway on that. I don't know about how you guys landed on that.
Yeah, and that was actually my number 3 too.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, they won, right? They won with Schwarber as the leadoff. But like you talked about last week, can't have Rojas, Schwarber, Turner going like leading in front of Harper. Yep. So they're going to have to figure out where Schwarber is more valuable to protecting, because they talk about protecting other players.
Right.
And that would be it.
Awesome. Yeah. So saw the same thing there.
Slim, so then who are we looking at the lead off? Turner with the speed.
Turner's probably
yeah changes his approach.
Got to get him on. Got to get him. Got to get him on. Got to get him stealing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Slim. What was your third takeaway?
So my third takeaway from Dombrowski was again with the downplaying of the second half win-loss record. I'm not even sure if he mentioned it. I'm pretty sure we were 500 after having a phenomenal first half. And the real detail in that downplaying was he pretty much scapegoated with the fifth pitcher, right? He said Walker came back and he stunk. He said Phillips was good for 1 or 2 outings, and we thought we had something and nothing. Brings up Turnbull with the same thing. So he really said that every fifth day that we were kind of throwing a punt there in the second half. With that being said, we talked about who's going to be the fifth pitcher last week. It seems as that Walker they're saying he's going to have to win the job. But it seems like he's going to be our fifth guy too. Right? Like I don't see, unless we go out there. I'm not sure who else will be there.
I don't think he's going to be our fifth guy. At all. I think they're just being, judicious about it, and they're saying that he's under contract. He has an opportunity to get the job, but I don't think he's even going to make the team, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they're just like he'll be playing, like they're going to get him in this routine or whatever that they had. They said he was doing good with it during the season, but they needed him to come back to pitch every fifth day or whatever. They said they're going to get him back on the same thing. I just think they're getting him ready for spring training so he can basically he's training for 29 other teams to pitch for.
Right.
He's on display.
The only other guy I could really see there is to start the season is Turnbull. And if he's going to have value, maybe give him a couple starts.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
he's the guy they got to re-sign.
Turnbull's a free agent, so we'll see where that goes. I know you're not as bullish on Painter starting the year.
Right.
We'll get into that later, but that's also an option too.
But my thing with just to finish that off, they talked about how that pitcher wasn't going to probably pitch for them in the postseason, so they didn't want to go trade for somebody that wasn't going to pitch for them in the postseason.
Correct, and they did the
I
math
think
and said they can live with the
recognized,
result.
because I think we recognized it right before, it was like 2 weeks before the All-Star break. That's when the guys started to suck. Like Phillips had the game against the A's, and then I think it was like he still made like 2 or 3 starts before the deadline to where he got rocked.
And here's the question I have. So if, let's say we lose Turnbull, or even we got to reinvest, right? Because it's the same difference. If we got to reinvest in Turnbull, now that's counterintuitive. I know that part of the second half, what Dombrowski said was we did the math. We didn't want to invest any more money in a fifth starter who wouldn't make our playoff roster. But now we're going to have to go out and reinvest in a fifth starter. And I know that $72 million for Walker is now how much? Like $60 million, let's say. We have remaining, whatever we have remaining on his contract, and whoever else we sign it's now like we're still going to have 70, 80 million invested into a fifth starter who's going to suck. So even that reinvestment stinks.
Yeah, the fifth starter is absolutely probably either number 1 or 2 on the front office's to-do list. So it was
a
a
lot
real
of money
issue.
they're wasting.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
You could easily stay, and I don't think it's you hate to play the just point the finger at one group blame game, but the fifth starter slot is the reason that we were not the best team in baseball. That was it, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So other than that, we would have probably won 100 games easy. And we had a complete disaster there down the stretch, and it's something we need to figure out because the other 4, I mean, Ranger is another question mark still, but that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, all right. So, Bones, I think you mentioned that we already hit on your third takeaway. Slim, have you mentioned your third takeaway yet?
Yes, my third takeaway was the fifth spot.
Perfect.
But I can bring up a different one now that I just thought about it.
Perfect. Hit us.
Bringing back Kevin Long. They brought the whole coaching staff back. Bringing back Kevin Long.
Yep.
Which we talked about who could be the scapegoat if Rob Thompson's brought back. He was number 1 culprit, but he's coming back, and it could possibly for only one reason. Juan Soto. Oh. They said his relationship is awesome with him, so might be that outfield option that they were looking at.
Listen, we've all seen how he's played this year and in the postseason, so that would be lovely. Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts on the whole bringing the whole band back, right? So we've all hit on how Dombrowski was a little bit in like, hey, I did my job, I set the table, and the players didn't do their job, right? He wasn't being too explicit because you have to be professional about it, but there was a hint of defensiveness, right? Obviously, Dombrowski is, most people call him a future Hall of Famer in this business, so he's got the cachet to say, hey, look, I want to bring all my guys back. And it's Middleton gave him the keys. So in my opinion, Dombrowski wanted to bring everybody back. All the onus was on the players didn't do their jobs, which, to be honest, I kind of agree. But he was making it very clear in that press conference that the players did not do their jobs. So that's kind of why we've seen, Kevin Long, who a lot of people wanted him gone. Rob Thompson, a lot of people wanted him gone. But the moral of the story was Dombrowski thought it was the players didn't do their jobs, and he put the players there.
Yep.
Awesome. So let's just quickly, before we transition, let's quickly talk about
for someone to ask Thompson or Dombrowski about Thompson's reaction to Bohm's non-existent or no call double in that last game. I don't think I heard a question on that, and that would have, because that shit was ridiculous.
The no call double. What when he was
So when he didn't challenge when Bohm hit the double, that was called foul, and Topper
okay.
just no emotion, no nothing.
That's just because
So
it's non-reviewable.
Yeah, you can't review that, unfortunately. But you're saying why didn't he make a ruckus of it? So maybe then that's in the back of the umpire's mind moving
there has
forward.
to be some kind of motion there.
I
There
think
has to
if
be
that's
something.
earlier in the game, do you get that out of them? But I think at that point,
It would have been nice to see Topper get thrown out of that game.
that's what I mean. If it was
Yeah.
earlier, I think you might have.
Okay. Because why you think he feels like he's going to have to manage later? Like make a couple more plays. And then maybe I keep thinking in the back of my head that the Kevin Long thing could be the next guy up.
So you're saying Kevin Long is the next scapegoat?
No, the next guy to become a manager of the Phils.
Interesting. I mean, they spoke glowingly of him. Rob Thompson said, "You're not going to talk to a guy," during the press conference. He said, "You're not going to talk to a guy in baseball that doesn't have him as a top 5 hitting coach, if not number
I
one."
know he's boys. They all have that Yankee connection. We have Clemens around the clubhouse sometimes because we have his son. So I know Roger Clemens is like always certifying, endorsing both
Right.
Topper and especially Kevin Long.
Was that Reese or who's the new guy?
It's Nitty.
Nitty, making a cameo. All right. It's first of the year. Love it. So I want to quickly hit on my final takeaway, and then we can transition to some Arizona Fall League. So JT looks like he's in store for a decreased load in this upcoming year. Rob Thompson made that very clear. I thought he was taking the let's get this out here with the joking. I got to, approach now, but he's not going to put that out there unless that's not in store for the Phillies, right?
Yep.
So I went back and looked at his historical usage. JT is typically a 135 to 140 starts a year guy. Back in 2008, the year the Phillies won the World Series, Chooch started 118 games to kind of give you a comparison of what the usage can be. So I don't know if the Phillies are looking back at that. Hey, look, we're really grinding him down. Obviously, he's toward the twilight of his career. Do we want to bring that back a little bit? Rob mentioned during the press conference that earlier in the year he wants to get him more rest. So what were your thoughts on him making that really clear? And then bigger question is, who's the guy getting the other however many 50 or 60 games, right? Which is a lot.
So I don't. He was playing hurt for most of the year,
Right.
so I think that played part of it. But we've been seeing decline the last couple of years. Always make the joke that he's like a walking double play, rolls it over to shortstop, third baseman.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody's on base, but I think it's time for the change. It needs to happen. It's just the nature of the business,
right?
Playing catcher, and especially the way he plays it. Sounds like it's not going to be Stubbs. They didn't really talk about him much.
No.
A lot of the questions were on Marchand, how he's out of options down in minor league ball, but he gets hurt too.
Yeah.
And
Stubbs has an option.
Finding the guy that is able to get the at bats maybe 2 to 3 times a week. It's kind of like a hard job to do.
Right. Yeah, so Stubbs still has an option. So I think the most likely scenario, kind of given all of that, is he starts down in, Lehigh Valley. But, we will see. We will see on that. Slim, anything on the Realmuto transition?
Yeah, I think he mentioned Realmuto being a tough guy. So I think
Mhm.
we're going to be closer to about 40 games and not 60, right? I think if unless he gets hurt, I think we'll be seeing him play about 120 games still. I'm going to be monitoring this throughout the year because it seems like they're going to assess how they handled him. How did they maybe on the road game, maybe give him more days off on the road, give him let him have more home games.
Mhm.
I know right this year was basically weekend day games, stuff like that. He didn't play. Um, I don't know if he's going to have to get an extra masseuse on the road or give him something that's going to make him feel good. Um, Back in '08 or before '08 when Hollywood Cole Hamels came up, one
Right.
of the reasons he got the name Hollywood, right, was because he went out and he was saying the Philadelphia Phillies weren't state of the art when it came to nutrition and it came to physical therapy and
Mhm.
recovery stuff. So I think they will, because I do think we're a great organization. I think Topper's going to do this. Whatever can keep Remuto fresh, because again, we can't be reinvesting. I don't think we're going to be going out and getting um, a catcher who can split time with him. We can't put Remuto at first base like maybe another team would have done or something. He
Right.
can't DH here. Uh, so we are relying on him. So we're going to need him to be extremely, extremely healthy and just good to his body. We need him to be kind to his body, because then he can be a huge advantage come the postseason.
Mhm.
Especially uh, with the speed, with the speed that we hope he has. Hopefully he doesn't like. I know this year watching the Arizona Diamondbacks. No, not the Diamondbacks. The Cardinals. They have Goldschmidt, and Goldschmidt is like the slowest dude in the league now. I'm hoping all of a sudden we don't see Remuto not able to move at all. Because that would be a very sad sight.
100%. 100%. All right. So before we take a trip over to Arizona, I wanted to kind of transition with this. So as we all saw, Don Borowski's main theme was winning the World Series is hard, right? With that in mind, so as we all know, the Yankees, I did a little deep dive here. The Yankees beat the Phillies in the World Series in 2009, right? So since the Yankees beat the Phillies in the World Series in 2009, it was 14 seasons between then and now. They had a winning record every single season. 10 of those years they went to the playoffs. During that span, 0 pennants, 0 World Series, right? During that same stretch, right? So during that time, the Phillies had a 9-year stretch without a winning season, right? And a 10-year stretch without making the playoffs and one pennant. So you take those extreme, one side to the other, and then the same results. It kind of aligns with winning a pennant and winning the World Series is hard. So let's go to Arizona. So this will be a quick little check-in on our boy Andrew Painter, right? Our top prospect.
Andy.
Andy Painter, right? Yeah, that's I haven't heard that one before. That was the guy from Toy Story, right? Andy.
Yep.
But yeah, so the number one prospect in the Phillies farm, Andrew Painter, the 6'7" flamethrower right-hander. He's got a 20, based off what I'm reading from the beat reporters, he's got a 20 inning limit over there in Arizona. He's looking great. Fastball up towards 100. Just wanted to kind of quick check in. Anything you guys are seeing there? Is your meter ticking one way or the other as far as if you think he's going to be in the opening day lineup? Bones.
I think he's going to be in the rotation. It's just a matter of how much they're going to use him. And even if he's not in the rotation coming out of spring training, which I wouldn't be against, especially with the weather. Like maybe wait till the weather is nicer up here in the city. Keep
Yep,
them
I can
down
see
in
that.
Clearwater. Maybe thrown a little bit, but I would like to see him early, kind of like they said, like brung up like Paul Skeens, brung him up in like May, almost June, I think it was, So I wouldn't be against it, whatever they decided to do. But hopefully he's up early, though, after if they do decide to send him down.
Slim,
So
anyone thoughts?
yeah, I think the 20 inning limit uh, gives kudos to my thinking that we're going to see him a little bit later. I don't know how many games the fall league is this year. 20 innings. What are we talking? 4 games, 5 innings, a game. I'm not sure. Like that's
Now,
that's a
like
So
very
two to three
2 to 3
innings.
innings over.
Yeah.
Okay, over a longer period of time there. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it looks. Um, yeah, I think they're going to be very careful with him. That's all. And I think that 20 inning here in that 20 inning limit, going 2-3 innings in the fall ball league, I think it gives kudos to that thinking that we're going to probably see him a little bit later rather than sooner.
For sure. Coming off that Tommy John, we're going to be extra careful. And Bones, you beat me to the punch on that. Look at Skeens, right? I mean, I think they're going to use that as a template of how effective that was. I mean,
But
I
did
don't
he have
think,
the injury history and stuff like Painter?
Skeens doesn't know.
no, he hasn't
Doesn't,
had
and he's
Tommy
also in
John yet.
Pittsburgh. They need ticket sales in Pittsburgh. We
No,
don't.
that's true. That's true. But cool. So yeah, we will be closely monitoring Andy Painter throughout the off season because I think that's I don't know. What do you think? Most exciting pitching prospect since Hamels?
Oh yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean Nola obviously has been a workhorse. I don't think he quite
Sixto
had.
Sanchez.
Yeah, yeah. Sixto
Sanchez was
Sanchez.
big.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Sanchez was big.
I don't think any of those
Yeah, now he's
guys had
huge.
had the ceiling that Painter has. I mean, Painter's, if all said and done, we want him to be a Cy Young candidate type guy, right? Like that's who this guy is. So it's exciting. All right,
Yeah,
so
it's
let's.
just the wait, the anticipation, man.
I know. So let's transition to something we probably didn't think we were going to be talking about a little bit a Netflix review. So Trey Turner starred in a Netflix documentary, or did he? Right. So Turning Around was the official name, right?
The
Netflix
turnaround.
documentary. The Turnaround. There you go. Thank you. The Turnaround. Guys, did you see it? And what were your thoughts? A little bit different than I was expecting, huh?
Yes, I'm happy I threw it on. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Okay.
Right off the bat, I was thrown off by the TVMA rating in the corner that I saw. I thought as I was watching it, I was expecting something much different, like you said.
Right.
A lot of what surrounds like the the narrator of the documentary went full blown pessimistic, like Phillies fan there, and I wasn't totally digging that, especially since that's more like an Eagles thing than it is like a Phillies thing. But then I thought the director, the guy, I thought he was super duper authentic. Seeing him, I thought his directing abilities were good. I thought there were some great shots, especially of
Right.
local places in Brysburg. I thought he was actually able to capture the essence of that neighborhood, and just being a guy who's working your butt off every day, just want to watch the Phils and hang tight, and no one really wants to hear the rest of what you got going on. So people go to the escapes like sports, and I thought it really captured what a lot of everyday living is like for a lot of people in this city, for sure, from Brysburg to South Philly to the Northeast to wherever else.
Absolutely. Bones, what were your thoughts?
So I like watching the Philly captain. I like watching his videos and all that.
Is
Yeah.
that who that dude is? I was like, who the hell is
Yeah.
this dude?
So Bones,
Yeah.
set the stage a little bit, right? So talk about the Philly captain and a little bit more about
He's the
that.
guy that was yelling at Manny Machado. I'm like, is he the dude that was like yelling at Manny Machado when Manny Machado was coming up? Whenever we were going to sign him, and he was like in
Yeah,
boots.
he's like part of the Fandemic crew. Like they would
Okay.
gather down there during the games when there was no fans allowed. They would hang out
Okay.
outside and watch the game like through the gate. He sits up in section like 301, like right over where the opening's at. I think he's there like every game.
Yeah.
He's always posting on Facebook and Twitter, like all of his handles and all that. Just like doing like little videos, goes around the stadium, talking to different fans. Really gets the kids involved at the game. It's pretty cool to see that. But as far as this documentary is concerned, wasn't a huge fan of it.
Don't be afraid to let's see the
Was,
thumb.
was a
The thumb.
waste 25 minutes of my life.
So Bones is a tough watch and a tough critic. He always has been. So here's my thoughts on it. I was expecting. Look, this was about Trey Turner, the $300 million shortstop the Phillies signed an 11-year deal on. Right. He was struggling during that season. That was 2023, right? Yeah. So struggling during the 2023 year, and then he turned it around, right? Hence the name of the thing. So the Phillies fans, who were notoriously not so nice, were turning it around and cheering. I thought it was going to be about that. I thought Philly captain was going to just be the leader of that. What this really was about was mental health, right?
Yes.
And which great cause, all of that. I was happy that it was only 25 minutes, right? And it wasn't because a lot of times what these documentaries do is they do wrong is they stretch you out for an hour when you could have got it done in 25. So kudos to them for that, right? Great message, mental health, suicide awareness, all that stuff was brought forth here, and kind of what sports can do for that, right? So I got hit with a curveball in that. Did not expect that at all. And so I'm gonna be a little bit more of a polite critic on that and say thumbs up on the delivery of the message. The Philly captain actually, Adam, during one of our tailgates, he came up to us, right?
Yeah.
And we were
he
talking
came
a
up
little
to us.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that voice. And I was like, I feel like I know that guy. And to your point,
So I called him at Bulldogs or Bulls Barbecue the one game after he wasn't even a Phillies video. He some guys clipped him on 95 and he like chased them until they finally stopped. And he found out that it wasn't their car when they hit him, and he was like yelling at them. So he like heard his voice. I'm like, oh, you're the Philly captain. So I went up and got a bull dick, and he ordered the same thing.
Oh man! All right, so we got mixed reviews on the Trey Turner / Philly captain Netflix documentary. All right, cool. So let's transition to question time. So we did something a little bit different, and we're going to do this moving forward. So thank you to all of our subscribers that participated and got involved here. So I'm going to just ask the questions to you two guys. I'll let you answer. And just so you know, moving forward to all of our listeners, subscribers, how you get involved. We have a growing subscriber base of our Substack. And if you are already receiving our emails, you already know how to get that. You'll see the information on how to be involved in all of our socials. But you have two ways to ask questions during our shows. One, you could simply reply to the emails that you get from our Substacks. The other is which this is not mandatory, but if you have a Substack account, you will see the comment section in the actual newsletter email. You can click comment and then simply reply there. We had a mixed bag of how people got involved. Both is equally fine. All right, let's jump right on in here, boys. And we'll start off with you, Slim. This was from Eric, who responded on Substack. Slim, if you were Dave Dombrowski, what is your top priority going into the offseason?
Bringing in a stud. It doesn't have to be Soto, but I think we had to bring in a corner outfielder who is absolutely dynamite. I didn't start thinking like this really until this week. Once I saw the payroll of the Mets and the Dodgers, knowing that the Braves are going to be right with us again. We got to invest. If we're going to be reinvesting in a fifth starter, I would say screw that. I would ride out with Walker, get us to the All-Star break, somehow, some way, get Painter around that time, and invest in the dude from Baltimore, invest in Soto, whatever you got to do. I know Soto's a ridiculous amount of money, but I think we have to put 100 million plus 200 million, whatever it's going to be, to get one of these dudes again. Good thing is with these contracts, when time goes, it opens up a little bit of money. So we got one less year to worry about with Turner, yada, 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 yada. So yeah, my first move is to big time signing, invest money into the corner outfield.
Love it.
So the thing with the Mets is $100 million of their payroll isn't even on their team.
Crazy.
It's Scherzer and Verlander.
Yeah. Nuts.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
And one of the guys that they acquired is Ronald Acuna's brother, and he's getting paid peanuts.
Yeah,
Right.
he's playing well.
And he was on the playoff roster.
Yeah. All right. Next question here, and this will go towards you, Bones. This was from Shane via email. So, Bones, if the Phillies are in a similar spot next year at the trade deadline, would you be willing to trade one of our top 10 prospects, unlike what we did this year?
So it all depends on what position they need.
Yep.
Is it a starting pitcher again, like a fifth starter? No. If it's somebody in the lineup, of course.
Right. If it's a guy you can control for a couple of years during our window, it makes more sense.
I wasn't disappointed with what they did at the deadline this year.
I wasn't either, to be honest with you.
Like maybe they could have went out and got a fifth starter, but nothing more than that. Like I wouldn't go after that dude Crochet from the White Sox after what he was demanding. Like,
I think the question ends up happening once the midseason comes. The biggest names available can be taken for whoever's your top prospects. So whoever's going to be the biggest bat available, you can have them for your prospects. So, yeah, I think I don't think we're even talking about pitching. I think we're talking about bringing in a bat right in midseason or at that All-Star break, someone who you can start every day and know he can smash a ball. I do know we try to. We saw Winkler. We've seen other dudes on other teams this year have little spot hits here and there. We kind of hope we would get that with Hayes. I thought Dombrowski downplayed that Hayes had a kidney infection. Like what?
Yeah, that was a real thing. He was unfortunately, but that's kind of his get out of jail card on the Hayes acquisition. That kidney infection.
But yeah,
but even then, I wasn't against they didn't go after the other guy from the White Sox. Who was the bat?
Roberts.
Yeah, Lewis Robert,
center fielder.
But what about a Rosarina? He would have been cheap.
He basically stunk.
Well, Rooker was the other one that was thrown.
Rosarina, yeah, I would have went after Brent Rooker. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, look, there were names there.
But a Rosarina dropped down too after he started
had some
hot
big
with
hits
the Mariners.
For Seattle, man. The games I saw, he came through a few times, especially early when they got him.
But you don't always need the big bat.
And the big one is 3 years ago. You saw Solar, dude, when the Braves got him. It was just like ridiculous.
Won the MVP.
Well, look at what's his name. Help me out here. The Dodgers shortstop, the NLS MVP. He was a trade. Yeah. No, this year.
Kike Hernandez.
Kike's not the shortstop.
No, he's not. Edelman.
Oh, Tommy Edman, yeah.
Edman, yeah. I mean, he's a trade deadline acquisition. He's the NLCS MVP right now. I mean, that's telling Dombrowski to hold their beer. But anyway, hold on here. Let's move on to the next question. This is going to be going to you, Slim. This is from Fran via email. Thoughts on moving Schwarber to cleanup and Turner leading off? Short and sweet.
Yes, I For years, before we got Turner, I always thought Harper should have been the leadoff guy with Schwarber behind him. I like Turner in the leadoff spot for the reasons that our manager and GM were saying. Get him on, get him stealing bases.
Mhm.
Would I have Schwarber in the cleanup spot now is the question. I think I would have Schwarber in the 3-hole spot, right? Go Turner, Harper, and then Schwarber is I think what I would do.
You Harper 2? That we
Yeah,
just
I would have
said?
Harper at 2. Yeah, I would have Harper at 2. And then Schwarber 3. And then fourth behind him is where I would have that brand new bat that I need to acquire. But it could be at this point I would be fine with Castellanos, Bohm, or Realmuto.
So that's funny you say that, Harper too. That was my exact thought. And have, if he's here, Boom at 3, Schwarber 4.
And then Schwarber 4. I just like with the thing with Schwarber, when he bats in the 1 spot, he gets 5 at bats. More often than anyone else is going to get those 5 at bats.
Yep.
I know it can turn around fast, and the 2 and 3 hole hitter. But the further you go down that lineup, the less likelihood he's going to be able to knock one out each game. When I think about Kyle Schwarber, I assume 5 at bats. I assume a hit, a walk, and then 3 strikeouts or some bullshit, right? But I assume a hit, a walk, and then 3 nothings.
Yeah.
And I don't want to limit that.
The ironic part about Schwarber most likely, or I shouldn't say most likely, a good chance of Schwarber being moved out of the leadoff now is this season he made so much strides in like the strikeouts and batting average and all that. And then this is the year that, but look, you got to change things up. I completely get that. All right. So thank you
This is
very
actually the
much.
year I like the most in the leadoff spot. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is a little wonky, especially like man, even if you put him at 2, if he bats 2 behind Turner, now he can protect Harper still, or Bohm or whoever. You can do Turner, Schwarber, Bohm, Harper, or
Yeah.
I would still probably have Harper 3. But as soon as Turner gets on, he can steal, and now Schwarber's in the same position before, and now these pitchers are fucked. They're worried when Schwarber's up in that 1 hole. They're worried about that 1 mistake. But now if Turner can get on 2, it's not even just a homer mistake; it can be a single mistake. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would like to see. I kind of like Schwarber. I think I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to do it right now. Turner, Schwarber, and then Harper.
Turner, Schwarber, Harper. All right, I'm writing that down. Turner, Schwarbs, Harper. Okay.
Because you can get
Interesting.
Turner on, and it can immediately, and then Schwarber can be in the same position he was in all, even a better position. But a lot of that is dependent on Turner getting on base, right? Taking pitches, the ones that he said that it's so hard to lay off. He has to start taking those, getting on, and then that's when the real entertainment can happen. He can start dancing over there for us.
Yes, sir. All right, boys.
He is fast.
Yeah, so we're writing that. Most of our episodes we're going to be targeting to be in that 35 to 50-minute range, and we are right in that sweet spot. So I want to just say thanks again for all of our subscribers for asking those questions. Those were great. Keep doing that because it helps the engagement and helps us kind of think about things that we wouldn't have thought of. Adam, let's cue up the On This Day in Phillies History.
So on this date, October 22nd, 2008, Cole Hamels starts Game 1 of the World Series versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Phillies win 3-2. Who got the party started for the Phillies?
Who
All
got
right,
the okay, first game? I'm thinking.
Got Slim.
And if you watched me lose against the Hammer 2 years ago, in victory 200 for him, he asked this question, and I got it right, even though
So what's the
I
question?
still got the prize.
How did they score that game? Can you give me that?
Home run.
It was a home run. Phillies.
Nope.
That was that Worth?
Chase Utley.
Chase Utley. All right.
Just over the wall. First day.
Yeah. There you go.
And then 2 years ago in the NLCS, Bailey Folder started, got rocked. Phillies came back, rocked. I forget who the pitcher was.
That was a fun run that in 22, man.
Reese Hoskins had 2 homers. Phillies won 10-6. Next day, that was it.
Yep.
Who would have
Awesome.
pitched those games? Who pitched that game? They had Nick Martinez was pitching, right? They had Snell that year. And they still
think it might have been
and they still had
I
Musgrove.
think it might have been Musgrove.
And they had Darvish. Those were the 4 they had, right?
I think it might have been Musgrove.
Correct.
Sounds right.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. That's always kind of fun to go back in the time machine there. But listen, this was fun, guys. Always is. We will see you all next week.